أجمعين. All praise due to Allah. We seek His help, we seek His forgiveness, and mercy blessing be upon our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So alhamdulillah, we are honored to, inshallah, have Sheikh Abu Amina Bilal Phillips, mashallah, and everyone knows that he's a doctor, and mashallah, everyone knows that he is running the Islamic University, and alhamdulillah, with a big number of the students. So without taking the Sheikh time, inshallah, we're gonna just give him a mic. Basically, we would like to know, as a Daiya, the responsibility of the Daiya towards Muslim and non-Muslim, not Muslims especially, and what's our responsibility after these people revert to Islam, the non-Muslim. So how we should take care of these people physically, mentally, socially, in everywhere. So because they're totally, they left their life and they went somewhere else. So we as a family, as a Muslim family, how we should deal with these brothers and what's our responsibility, and inshallah Shaykh will gonna speak about it.
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam, rasulillah. All praise is due to Allah, and Allah's peace and blessing be on the last messenger of Allah. Really, I wasn't prepared to give a speech on this topic, because if I'm dealing with people, already dealing with people in the field, we need to look at, practically speaking, what are the issues that you are faced with. Because I'm sure you've heard lots of theory, how many courses and seminars, etc. you've already heard on what should be. Well, what we do need to look at in the end is, what is actually happening. One of the things I could perhaps, contribute to your effort here is work which I did from a Dawah center in Qatar, where I tried to develop a series of materials which would be specifically designed for the new Muslim, from the first time he accepts Islam till the time that he or she has passed a year of their Islam. So I put together, sitting with the du'at and discussing and looking at our experience, etc., I put together a booklet called The First Day. Basically focusing on the 10 most important things which a person should know and do before leaving the center or the office or the whatever where a person has taken Islam. What are the 10 most important things? Because what happens is that when you go from center to center, place to place, it's all ijtihad. Somebody thinks, oh, well, you should tell them this. Somebody thinks, no, don't tell them that. The other say, no, we tell them this. And there's no consistency. There's no structure to it. So those people maybe who have been out there for many years, they've over the years learned through, making mistakes and correcting and seeing what works and what doesn't work. They end up with a general approach. And the other people who are new, well, they're trying this and they want to try that. Nobody tried that before, and so you have all of this confusion, really. So this is what I put together. I will send you a copy of it, soft copy, and inshallah, you're welcome to publish it. And I would suggest that you do so and then send it out to all of the centers. I did it in Qatar, and this was my intention. This was somewhat agreed upon, but our center in Qatar changes mudirs every 6 months. So in the last 10 years, we've had 20 mudirs. And when every new mudir comes, whatever was done by the previous mudir, stop that. Because he wants to make his mark. So this is one of the issues and problems that Dawah centers tend to be faced with. So this project started off, I completed the first day. Then I prepared the first week, what should be done for the first week. Because after the first week, then the first month, first 6 months, then the first year. After that, after you've had them for 1 year, then they should be solid, be able to carry on themselves, and guide others even, right, to that point. Not everybody necessarily is going to make it to the first year, but at least, whatever, to what degree they get, to that degree they're able to give, right? Because you can't give what you don't have. In Arabic they say, فَاقِدُ الشَّيْء لَا يُعْطِيهِ, right? So you give what you have. So this is what we were trying to develop. However, before the first week could come to light, a new mudir showed up who was no longer concerned with this project, so it stopped. Anyway, the basic material for it, I have, it can be put together, and I can pass that on to you. And of course, even what was set as the first week could go beyond, because it depends. When you say the first week, do you have the people 7 days? Or do you only have them once a week? So now if you only have them once a week, one more shot, can you do everything that should maybe have gone on in the first week? No. So your first week now may be spread over a month and a half, because you only see them once a week. So all of it depends on the amount of time that you have, contact hours or time that you have with them. So you have to really modify the program. Or first week, maybe first month may become first 6 months. First year may become first 2 years, potentially. Right? So this one is what I think has to be in place, a clear program. It shouldn't be up to the dais to just, okay, we give a book, we run out of books. We have this other book comes on the market, come through, we give that now. And then that runs out, we find another book. And no, there should be consistency. Either this book was the best first book, or it wasn't. If it wasn't the best first book, then what are we doing giving it the first book? We find what is the best, which is going to fulfill the needs of that program, and then make sure you have it available in stock. Excess. And what's next, what other book, and so on and so on. There is an effort which has been made by Sheikh, what's his name again now? I'm not sure, is it Tuwajiri or somebody from Saudi Arabia anyway, has done a series. It first was done in Arabic. It's called, I guess, the New Muslim Manual, right? And he did a series. He did one for the student manual, and he did, the doctor's manual. He did a whole series, maybe about 10 different books in the series, basically training each one through the basics of Islam, so that in the end there would be a dai, right? I edited the English version about a year ago. I don't know what happened. I've been in Canada for the last 8 months. I don't know whether it was published, but I've gone through and edited it. And it's a start, although it tends to be an Arabic view of what a new Muslim should know. And, it's like an Arabic view to what a non-Arab, or how a non-Arab should learn Arabic. There's something missing here, okay? The Arabic view tends to be that the non-Arab should be treated like a child, right? So as the little child learns his Arabic in the Arabic society, we just make a bigger book for the adults, not realizing that you're just dealing with two different mentalities. You can't teach an adult non-Arab as you would teach an Arab child. Simply because when you're teaching Arabic in the beginning stages, you do it in a simple way. Yeah, you're teaching kids, you're going to teach it simply. It doesn't mean that that is what is best for adults, because children learn differently from adults. So this book, while better than nothing, right? It's good if you can get a hold of it until you can develop something else. It does have its drawbacks from that perspective. That those people who actually put together such books need to be people in the field. They need to know, the non-Arab Muslim mentality and how to present the various topics to them. So another book needs to be written, but at least this is something. If you get a hold of it, if you're able to track it down, then it is something worth using, because at least it's organized, all the information is there, you can work with it. So for the new Muslim situation, as I said, we need to have an organized and structured approach, right? So whatever it takes to produce the necessary literature, this is what the center should be actively engaged in. I don't know, have you produced something already?
Unfortunately, alhamdulillah, in Kuwait, there are many Dawah centers, and as well in the Arabic Islamic community, the charities. Alhamdulillah, they started as well working on the Dawah and booklets and English section as well. But till now, unfortunately, we don't have any curriculum for the Muslims. Till now.
Well, that's the horse that needs to go before the cart.
Yeah, however, there are several books, translated into many different languages. Like Qatar, in Qatar they have many different languages translated. But the same in Kuwait. So that's a plus, in a way, that's a plus. But no curriculum, no set way.
So, you see, then that's the same situation as I described it, that each da'i or each person will pull from that group of translated books what he thinks, and some don't work, some do work, some not appropriate, some are appropriate. And so you're operating in an unplanned, unstructured environment. And learning has to be structured to be effective. Otherwise, you're putting a lot of energy. That's what they say, that in planning, that when you have that unstructured environment, 80% of your effort will only produce 20% results. But when you have a structured environment, planned environment, 20% of your effort will produce 80% results.
Are you aware of any studies that have statistics on what actually works best? What is the 20%? What categorizes, what are the things that fall in the 20% that give us, the 80% on the 80-20 rule?
Well, this is a general example that is given, right? That basically structured efforts produce far better results than unstructured, unorganized efforts. That's the rule. They teach this in planning and business administration, etc. They put that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This is their numbers. It doesn't matter, about the detailed, and of course, if we think about it logically, yes. You know, as you said, what 20%? You know, because there's going to be a 20% which may not produce that. But obviously, it is, I mean, if we take it as the, you know, if we look at the whole material and take 20% of the material from all of its aspects, this is what I would assume is what is implied. That by covering all of the ground, take 20% of each subject, each aspect, and just give them that you will get that kind of results. Whereas if you don't have anything and you're just pulling, some people might do it and get 80% also. But in general, the end result is going to be 20% less, meaning a far less utilizable or beneficial result. So I think that the center, how long has the center been up and functioning now?
Almost
5 years almost.
4 to 5 years.
Okay. So it means it's long overdue. It means that you need to stop and say, let us do this. This needs to be done. Otherwise, we're just going around in a circle. You know, we're still there. We're not moving. It's not a spiral, upward spiral. It's just a one-level spiral. We need to change what we're doing to become more effective.
Sheikh, I have a question, please. What we are doing recently, we are going to the market like Sultan Central, and we are doing street dawah there. We just, you know, we put our table, put our pamphlets, and we distribute it to non-Muslims. But the problem is, I feel that some people, or many people who are Westerns, when they see our aspect or our image or whatever, they turn away, or they are scared or panic or what, you know. So what is the best way to attract them, or to make them feel like this is the peaceful religion, this is the way of happiness? Like, we need to attract them, because as I see,
you need exhibitions. You need to, I would say, my advice to you, if you've never brought exhibition Islam here, put that as number 1 on your priority. Exhibition Islam from the UK is one of the best compilation of Islamic civilization and what it has to offer the world that I've ever seen. And these brothers have been working on this thing for the last 20 years. You know, when I used to go to the UK in the early 90s, up in Leeds, the brothers were there. They just had a little, you know, a few posters, you know. But as time went on, they built it up, they added, and these are all university students, PhD, master's students were working on it. They would leave, others would come on board, and others eventually graduated and stayed on because of the impact that it was having. Eventually, they took it across the country, and then they took it across Europe. Presidents, you know, prime ministers were coming and praising it. And they got together, you know, things that you would normally not even get your hands on. They got from the museum coins, for example, you know, from the 10th century, which had on one side King George IV, and on the other side, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Coins minted in Britain like that, you know? So it tells a story. It tells a story of cross-cultural, you know, contact and peaceful cross-cultural contact. And, you know, the story behind it is dawah in and of itself. So they have gathered up all that information, and all you need to do is send them the space that you have. They will send you a 3D, you know, breakdown as to how the exhibition will be set up and what's going to be where. I mean, they have this thing down, honed, tweaked, ready to go. You just contact them. I can give you the contact in the UK. And you contact them. You arrange. You have to pay obviously for you to bring their stuff here, etc. They'll come down early. They'll train some of your people, you know, who will be part of the presenters of it, and then afterwards establish a permanent exhibition. So you have one here on a permanent basis where people can come through at all times. So that, for many Westerners, is much more attractive than trying to confront them on the streets. Because this is something which they can walk through or not walk through. It's official, it's whatever, government approved, it's, and it's not coming off as, come, we want to tell you about Islam. It's more the culture of Islam, Islam's culture and civilization, etc. So it's dealing with all of those aspects.
Excuse me, would you say it's similar to the exhibition in Dubai, where the people, they have some area and it's an exhibition and it has like something for the West or some? Are you familiar with this? They have an exhibition there. I don't know if they have Islamic.
I don't know. It may have been. The result of them coming, because they came to Qatar. I brought them down to Qatar, and alhamdulillah, it was a huge hit. People loved it. People talked about it for years afterwards. And alhamdulillah, Fanar, which is the government wing of Awqaf Dawah, they established a permanent exhibition in their own building. So people are coming through there all the time. Every day people are coming through. And the du'at are there ready for them, walking through with them, helping them, guiding them. Their shahadas coming, on a daily basis. So no doubt that would enhance the da'wah and outreach, significantly. So that would be.
What is the period of these people? Like how long they stay and do the exhibition?
It's as you request them.
What's the name?
They call Exhibition Islam.
Exhibition Islam.
But what's the minimum time? What's the maximum?
They will tell you that.
Okay.
They'll tell you that.
According to-
Because you're going to have to pay for it, right? You're going to have to pay for it. It's not a freebie. You're going to have to pay for it. And the longer they have to stay here, the more you're going to have to pay. The less, naturally.
Yes, I have a question in general. Like, I don't know about centers or anything, but as individuals, when you see like a new Muslim who reverted to Islam, the topics that you should talk to him about, what topics? Like, do you talk to him about the ideology, or do you talk to him about how to pray and the fiqh of Islam, or like the certain topics that you choose and you talk to him about? What do you think they are?
Are you talking about the first day?
Yeah.
Okay, as I said, I'll send you that material.
And
It's
your
all
book.
there.
It's
Yeah,
all there.
the book is there. What's the first thing? Among the first things, after the person, when the person comes to take Shahada, we explain you need to find out why they want to take Shahada. Usually, people will bring a person who show an interest in one accept Islam. They bring them in very enthusiastic, so and so. Can you do Shahada for him? Yes, it's okay, Shahada. You need to find out why. Because they may be coming in for the wrong reason.
Can you give us an example, for example?
Well, for example, somebody, he wants to marry a Muslim girl. That's the big number one. That's the big number one. So you have to be sure about this, because you don't want to be, an instrument to fornication. Because families may be doing this, they know full well this guy that has no interest in Islam at all. He's just going to say it so that he can get married. You provide the certificate, and it's a certificate for fornication. For the sight of Allah. Maybe according to Sharia, because the judge, he just said, make Shahada, he's seen your certificate, it says he gave Shahada, he has to go on the outside, what is obvious, and he gives it. They get married and they go on. But you have now participated in legalizing fornication. So you need to find out why. When he tells you, well, I want to get married, Islam is not like that. Right? Or if he's sort of hemming and hawing, you can ask him. He said, if she were a Buddhist, would you be ready to become a Buddhist? If he tells you yes, then that's clear. right? Clear as day. That's what his intentions are. So, therefore, if his intentions are bad, it's not now you say, okay, close the book, please, ma'asalama. You will not do it. No, you say, listen, this thing is a little more serious than that. We cannot, it is not permissible for us to just do this like this, because this religion is a religion based on faith, knowledge, conviction. It is not just saying some things, filling out some papers, and that makes you one. So, do you really want to know about Islam? If he says, no, I don't really know. Okay. He's told you. He's not interested in learning, he just wants to say it to get married and say, well, sorry, we can't do it. And that should be a standard principle. And all the centers should function on the basis. Because if they know your center won't do it, but so-and-so centers, then you can get it done. Then, of course, everybody will be gravitating over there. The word is out. You need that quick shahada. It's over there. Right? So that's where the centers need to cooperate. You need to have, this contact with each other, establish certain principles, though you may not agree with some approaches or whatever, but there's certain things, basic ground rules that you can all agree on. And you should establish it. So people will know there's no way. It's just not going to happen. So that's an example,
But can you actually tell him why why you are reverting to Islam? Wouldn't he think that that's kind of
personal?
Yeah.
No.
It's okay.
No, it's okay. I mean, how you say to him, you can say to him in an antagonistic way, why are you going to? Or you can say, okay, brother, it's very nice of you. You'd like to become a Muslim. Could you give me something of your background? She can tell you that way. Well, I met this girl. Okay. Here comes the story. Familiar story. Yeah. So, yeah, we don't need to use direct words, harsh words. It should be gentle, nice, pleasant.
So, Sheikh, I have another question, please. What about, for example, if I found like hostile person or a person who is like abusive? I mean, he's not humiliating or cursing or something like that, but in da'wah sometimes I found a British guy, like he started to talk bad about Islamic belief or about Arabs in general, and he was hostile. Like I kept silent, and then I told him what I know, and then I let him go. But like, how could I capture such a person, or trap him and then give him the correct image, with a hostile person? How could I do something like that?
Well, I mean, of course, this will vary from person to person.
Yeah.
There's no magic bullet, as we say.
Okay.
This will vary, and your experience in the field will help you to know which ones to use, or when one doesn't work, you shift to another one, etc. But in general, by showing a sympathetic ear, you can drop them down a couple of notches. If they come in, you Muslims are always blowing yourself, you say to them, I can understand how you feel, brother. Rather than, no, we're not. It's you guys. This is a different approach, right? So when you tell him, I can understand how you feel. You can understand how I feel, because he's expecting you to come back, get into this argument. So he says, no, I can understand how you feel. So, okay, what do you mean you can? Well, the media. This is how we are portrayed in the media, But of course, it really isn't like that. So by using that type of language, you can diffuse that situation. Why do you Muslims? Do you really want to know why? I appreciate your interest. You're asking, right? He's asking you a rhetorical question. Why do you Muslims always involve yourself in wars? Why are you Muslims? Of course, it's coming like that. He's not really waiting for you to explain to him why. But, by you responding to him, I appreciate your interest in wanting to know. Do you really want to know? Can I help you to understand why? You know, so if you come back like this can help to bring them down.
جزاكم الله خير. جزاكم الله خير.
Sheikh, last month, alhamdulillah, the brother, he's from Argentina, and he became Muslim, alhamdulillah. And, you know, we felt with him like what you said. We didn't know exactly what to deal with him. And that, you know, first day, first week, you know, we as a brother, you know, you do this or he do this, well, we come with him. And so we've been quite lost how to deal with him. So about, you know, the first day and second day, your topic, have you been tried this topic in the field for many years, and you get the effect of it, and it's been you know, very effective, these topics, or and who else, you know, with you who confirmed this topic, or there's one of the famous Daiya, he saw this topic and he said, well, this is one of the best thing we need to spread, or it's like other suggestion, you know, or it's, I mean, have you been tried it in the field, and it has been very effective, so therefore we just can take it and go for it, therefore no one.
No, it doesn't matter, you know, who produces anything. You still have to try it and see what works and what doesn't, you know. When I produced it, I didn't just sit down and come from my head and write it out. Each point I discussed with our team of du'at who are giving da'wah in Sri Lankan language and other different languages, whatever, you know, we discussed what are the critical things, you know. Among the top 10 is Salah. That first day when they accept Islam, we need to make them make Salah. Most people tend to leave it, okay, after you learn Fatiha and things, you know, then inshallah you can start to pray with us. And so you meet people who have been Muslim for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, they're still trying to learn the Fatiha, you know, and they haven't made a Salah yet. No, this is a big mistake, huge mistake. The bottom line is, this is what we call Fard Ayn, because this is what really those top 10 is the Fard Ayn of that particular point of time, right? That the Salah of the hour, he accepts Islam at Dhuhr time, between Dhuhr and Asr, then Dhuhr is on him. That's the bottom line. He has to pray Dhuhr. That's Fard on him. If he doesn't pray Dhuhr, he's in sin. Of course, if you didn't tell him, Allah's not going to hold him accountable. He's going to hold you accountable. So that first hour after he has made his shahada, then the next thing is we have to make him pray. If the salah is coming up, we come or we take him to the masjid with us, we show him wudu, he follows us in wudu. And then he comes to the masjid and he follows us in prayer, he prays next to us. You tell him just to say in your mind, you know, just remember Allah, whatever, because he doesn't know anything. So yeah, just, okay. Just reflect on Allah, think about God, thank God, you know, glorify Him, thank Him for having guided you, etc., etc. You know, whatever. You just think about God. This is prayer. And you do whatever we do. Right? So, he does that first prayer. So he knows, he gets the idea, or she gets the idea, that prayer is of utmost importance. Because that after Shahada, that's next. So that's among the principles that they should know from that very first day. And that's not something that we need to debate about. You know, does it work or doesn't work? This is not the issue about work. You got to do it. You know, so this is how we looked at the principles. What is, you know, knowledge which they must have when they walk out. They need to have this knowledge. So that's what's been outlined there, you know. And it includes, of course, some knowledge of ghusl and wudu, things like this, that you have to have literature prepared, you know, to achieve these things. You have to have some things to help, you know, whether it's DVDs, etc.
Yes, sir. Jazakallah khair, inshallah we're going to benefit from that book, inshallah, and I will chase you until I will take that book, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. But first thing that, alhamdulillah, I got different opinions from different people. I'm giving classes to the new Muslims in my masjid, and there's a small booklet called Pillars of Islam and Iman. It started with Aqidah, and then it goes to the Tahara and etc. and Salah. So some people told me that it started with the fiqh. Some people told me no, it started with the hadith and raise their iman. Some people did something else. So actually I don't know now what to do. Some people say no, fiqh, just focus on fiqh, they need fiqh. And I know that the importance of salah and tahara the main. But some people say no, focus on, take the Arba'in Nawawiyya. Some people say no, take some few hadith from Riyadh al-Salihin and reveal their iman. So I'm lost now in between them. I don't know what to do. So can you just put light on like, should we raise the iman? Should we focus on fiqh? What exactly do we do?
Well, in general, we know that in terms of priorities, what did the Rasulullah ﷺ tell Mu'adh ibn Jabal when he sent him to Yemen?
Shahada.
Aqidah. So Aqidah is first. Aqidah is first. So whatever program you're doing, Aqidah should be there. Now the point is that you don't have to teach Aqidah for a month. And then after that you go on to fiqh. No, we look at what are the dururat of Aqidah, what are the usul of Aqidah that we need to give him, what are the usul of fiqh that we need to give him. So we try to give him from the various areas what he needs, what he can benefit from most directly. He needs to respect the sunnah. So it means that when you're giving him, it's not about giving him hadiths to, okay, the Prophet ﷺ said this, he said that, memorize these hadiths, so on and so. No, he doesn't need to do that. This is not the time for that. What he needs to know is there is this aspect of Islam called the Sunnah. You know about the Quran. Right? Because after Aqidah, then we need to let him know about the Quran. And then you need to know about the Sunnah. The Quran doesn't mean he has to read through the whole Quran. No. At least you need to know the Quran, what it actually represents, to understand the Quran. Whatever he didn't understand before he became a Muslim, because on that first day, you can't explain everything to him about this, about the Quran, etc. So you give him what he needs to know concerning that. You need to give him what he needs to know concerning the importance of the Sunnah. That you can't just go with the book and say, okay, that's enough for me. No, the Sunnah is critical. To understand the Quran, you must have the Sunnah. These two are, like that. They don't separate. So you give him that understanding. That doesn't have to go, you don't have to go into great depths, but you give him that understanding, and you bring a few verses from the Quran which confirm it, so he knows, okay, this is not something this guy is telling me, somebody else might tell me otherwise, it is there in the Quran. So he learns to respect what you're teaching, sources, you're giving him the sources. And the fiqh, of course, the application, because then, okay, you know the Quran, you know about it, you know about the Sunnah. Now, how do we do what we're supposed to do? This is the fiqh. So, Salah is the first one that we need to now be working on him to establish. So that's an ongoing thing. You can't teach it in one lesson. Right? And then you have to look into how do you go about teaching it. Do you have him memorize Fatiha first? There's hadith in the Prophet ﷺ in which he gave a shorter formula for those who didn't learn the Salah. Even Arabs in his own time told him to say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah. Okay. So that's enough for him to use in his Salah from then onward until he fills in all the gaps. So once he's got Fatiha, he doesn't say that anymore there. But then the surah after Fatiha, he can go back to it. When he goes into Ruku', you haven't taught him Subhana Rabbi al-Azim yet, so he uses that. And once he learns Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, he stops using it. So he just replaces that which he had been using initially in his prayer.
Sheikh, I have one question. When do you think it's appropriate to introduce a student to Aqidah Wasatiyya?
Wait, this is an element of the usul of Aqidah, right? We have, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, Tawheed al-Ibadah, which is the goal. So we'll give him something from each of these areas, build up his knowledge, understanding Tawheed al-Ibadah. This is the goal, the ultimate goal. Everything is to take us to that point. What it means in practical terms, and we should try all the time, whatever we're teaching, to give the practical aspects.
I just mention one thing, like back in the States, we were doing dawah in the prisons, and there was a special situation where you had these different groups kind of vying for the people. So you would have like the 5%ers and the Nation of Islam active in the prison. So there, even when you had a new shahada, you kind of gave information based on what the need was at the present time. Like for maybe the general person, like here in Kuwait, you don't need to get into the aqidah of the Nation of Islam because it's not really relevant. But in the prison, it was relevant because the next day, maybe this new shahada is going to have some Nation of Islam guy come in and start and convince him to come over that side. So you had to actually get into it pretty soon, like this is what they believe, this is what we believe, and get into details. So I think what I'm saying is it depends on the situation. Whatever's necessary for that particular person, that's what you have to give them.
So Wasatiyya is, more advanced study. This is when you're, in the end of the year, you've given different smaller works on Aqidah.
Would this be applicable to Ibn Abdul Wahhab as well, this Kitab al-Tawheed? Would that be too... I think it's relatively simple, and it has some really pertinent things in it. Do you think...
Yeah, but the thing is that studying books, again, this is another level. What we need to do is to give them the basic bites or concepts that these books contain.
Condensed.
Yeah, it's condensed, it's summarized, it's, it's simplified, it's in their language, with examples that they can comprehend. Because you try to explain to them about a tira, birds flying, say, well, people do that, but cross, you keep your fingers crossed, knocking on wood. Okay, these they can relate to because they know they're doing that. It's part of their society. So you try to bring it in the most relevant form. Later on, for a more in-depth study, then you can go into books, smaller books, then bigger books.
Sheikh, what is the best way for the new Muslim to tell his family that he's became Muslim?
Again, see, always the best way is the best way for that particular circumstance. There's no one best way. So it depends on that person's family and their attitudes. Maybe you have to tell them, don't tell someone. Don't tell them. Because this is going to happen, and that is going to happen. You're already taking a position. You don't have to tell them. It's not an obligation on you to tell them. So it's not like this is far. You must tell your parents and give them da'wah. If you can, it's good. So you go according to the actual circumstance there. So some people, you will advise them to do it in a particular way, maybe by inviting the parents down to the center. Where more senior du'at or whatever can sit with them and help them grasp and understand. I just recently, when I was in Toronto, one brother, he was having World War III in his home. He's a young guy, he's 17 years old, he had converted to Islam.
Warm blood.
So he did it without speaking to the family about it, and they were just created such turmoil, So he was asked, I said, okay, bring them down, invite them down to the center. So they came down, the grandmother, the mother, the aunt, and himself, they came, and they're 7 Days Adventists, hardcore, grandmother, The mother was more, the aunt was quite modernist. She was not really stuck in the principles, but they just wanted clarification. You know, for him, you know, he felt that if he introduced or tried to say anything, they were just attacking him, you know. So he felt he just had to go ahead. And that was his ijtihad, you know. But in the course of it, you know, of course, to appease the grandmother and so, you know, I said, yes, it would have been better if he had, you know, informed you, got your, because in the end, truly, he could have told them, they said no, and he still go and do it. Right? You know, in the end, right? Because if he came to us and he said, my parents are saying, don't do it. Should I do it? You're going to say what? Do it.
Do
it. Right? You're going to tell them. Do it and don't tell them.
Yeah.
Okay? Whatever. But the point is that you're going to tell them to do it. But for the grandmother, she wanted to just hear that, you know, her rights had been sort of, you know, subverted. You know, he was not being respectful. Yes, it wasn't really, you know. So I said those things. It's true. You know, it would have been good, it would have been better. And he accepted, and, you know, like that, and it smoothed right down. And so, you know, they had their questions, and alhamdulillah, it became a good dawah session. The aunt and the mother, especially the aunt, she was asking all these questions. And alhamdulillah, turned out to be a wonderful session. They're very happy. They left happy and, you know, much more. So you may, you know, that's one approach where you bring the family in, or you may go to their home, you know, or invite them to some neutral location. It could be also that you give them some material, you know, something about Islam, DVD, booklet, whatever, give them some background to understand better. They may be interested, okay, let's read about it, let's find out what this thing is. So the circumstance will determine what is really the best way to help the new Muslim inform his family or her family.
Inshallah, we can continue after Salah. We can come back and with the lecture, inshallah, we have something very, very simple we brought. So, yani, in Arabic we say tak-taka. So inshallah, after that I know that, you know, you have to go somewhere, so inshallah, after that, you know.
Yeah, inshallah. Although this for me is priority.
Exactly.
You know, we'll talk with the brothers.
Inshallah.
That makes it even better, you know, like she's invited at least once a week or twice a week to come and eat with the family, and she, you know, blends in with the family, find a good practicing family in her area, and, you know, she's made to feel, you know, the value of Islam. So all of this enhances that experience, that initial experience, then they're much, much stronger, you know. And this becomes most critical for Westerners. You know, for people from the East, it's a little less critical, but it's still important. We shouldn't downplay this, okay, we're just going to do it for Westerners. No, we should try to do it for everybody. But know that for the Westerners, it becomes even more important. Even more.
Yeah, Sheikh, I find this very difficult because, you know, we give the dawah and everything, but most of us work or we travel, and it's very difficult to follow up with the people. You know?
That's why I said it's not on you.
Yes.
The person who, usually the dawah, you're going to give the shahada to somebody who is brought in by somebody else.
But
Usually.
Not necessarily. For instance,
I'm not saying not necessarily, I'm not saying it's not necessary, but at least for those that somebody has brought that person in, then you can establish this buddy system. If you are the one who has done it, then what you have to do, right, you gave the shahada to this person. You met them on the table, you invited them down to the center, you gave the shahada, whatever. Then you need to arrange, if you're not able to follow up with them, then you need to arrange somebody who's from that area. You know, you have, because you did with, this is Kuwait, people know where the areas are, who the people are, which families are good and which are not, and all this. So you can establish that relationship.
but the situation is often like a person may be in the drive-through restaurant and they may, you know, be the employee, and I'll give my order, you know, and by the time I get around to the window, I'm trying to convert them, and they convert to Islam, and all of a sudden his boss is calling him, and so I have to go, and then I don't have time to come back to him. I may get his telephone number, and sometimes, you know, it can go further, and they further their studies and go to other places, but often the case I can't really follow up, you know. I can get the shahada sometimes, but I can't follow up, you know.
I didn't quite
Yeah.
get the circumstance in which you were.
The circumstances, I may sometimes be in the situation where I'm in the drive-through, you know, restaurant, and so I'm at the counter, and so I'm talking to the individual, and I convert the individual.
How can you convert somebody in that spot, man? You're in a drive-through,
Yeah.
and then, I mean, what are
I'm
they
waiting
doing?
on my food, you know, I'm waiting on my food, and I'm talking to him, and
Slow drive.
And he's gonna be taking shahada at that spot?
he'll take it. You know,
I mean,
do you think it's a rush? You know,
I think it may be rushed, you know, and, you know, just be careful, because there's different modes of shahada. I had a good friend of mine, he was a Jamaican doctor in New York City, and he used to go down to Jamaica, you know, in summers during his breaks. And what he used to do is he used to buy, you know, these cheap Chinese watches, right? And he would go down to the main marketplace in Kingston, and he would hold up all these watches, you know. Who would like a free watch? Everybody's crowding around him and said, okay, now just put your hand up. like this, put your hand up. So she put the hand up. Repeat after me. And a shadow, and they all repeat, and he give out all the watches. Then he tell the brothers, okay, now brothers, follow up. And he'd go to another place. Yeah, he was getting the shadows, you know. But it was chaos. It was chaos. These people didn't know what they, you know, what they just died. They said, no, you're now Muslims and blah, blah, blah. They said, what? But this is not the way, you know. I mean, it's better to, if you are, you know, engaged in these kind of discussions, then it's better to have some kind of pamphlet, booklet with a reference number and contact, whatever, that at the end of your discussion, you are able to hand it to them and say, please come down, follow up, you know, you should become a Muslim, you know, we want to help you, so and so, and let them come down and fill in the gaps.
Yeah, that's often the case. That's often the case. And sometimes it comes down to where I can't speak, you know, one of the languages in India, and so I have like a person translating, and sometimes they, you know, he converts just from me, you know, relaying the message to him and telling him what to say, and still it's the follow-up thing, you know. Even if I'm in, for instance, in Malaysia, I'm in the taxi, and I'm with the person who speaks Malay, I can't speak Malay, so I'm telling this person he converts the taxi driver, but I mean, you can't follow up. So I'm
No, but
trying.
there is a follow-up procedure, even if in Malaysia, because there are Islamic centers there.
Yeah.
There are people involved in dawah training and teaching, you know, new Muslims. It's all there. Virtually everywhere you go, there is some center. So the key is that always you try to link that person to a center.
Yeah.
You know, that individual dawah on the spot there. It's like when we were doing the dawah to the American troops after the Gulf War. It's the same thing. You know, we had 500,000 Gulf troops, the American troops coming through the Hobart area. You know, and so we were giving dawah. Alhamdulillah, we were having shahadas up to like 20 people a day. You know, continually for like 5.5 months. You know, continually. So I mean, of course, some of these people, they're packing up and heading out the next day somewhere, you know. So it's all that kind of stuff. So what we had to do, of course, we found out what is the nearest base, where they're going back to, so and so. So then we contact the people in the States, so and so is coming through, you know, look out for them, we give them a number. So we have some system so that there is something in place, you know, for them to follow up with. So it's always possible. You know. Rare cases, you won't have a chance to do anything more than just give the shahada. And of course, it's better to give it, you know, if they've understood what you've said, you know, and then you should have a card that they can at least follow up, email, you know. You can tell them you can go online, you should have on your card, for example, you know, the best sites online where you can go and learn, you know, there's newmuslim.com, there are a few other good ones there, you know, that give them some guidelines. Otherwise, again, if you don't tell them something like that, they go on there and they find a new thing which says new Muslim, but it's new Shia Muslim, not into Shiaism or something else. So you should have something. If you're actively involved like that, then you should have a card that you give them, It becomes your contact with them and your means to guide them through their own means to further their own Islam.
I mean, as for me, I at least give a book, you know, that, but sometimes in a rare
But a
situation.
book alone is not enough.
Not
Because
enough.
You see, you need something to link them up to some organization, system, etc. that can follow up, you know? Yeah.
Sheikh, I have a maid at my home, Adama. She's from Ethiopia. She's Christian. Now it's been 6 months she's working in my home. So I want to know how to make dua to her. That one. Because today I brought her books. Yeah, if you have
Books in Ethiopia.
Ethiopia about Islam. Yeah. And the second question is this.
Okay, let's deal with the first question.
Okay.
What I would suggest is that there should be in the Dawah centers here du'at, male and female, from Ethiopia.
Okay.
You have or you don't?
Yes,
Not-
yes.
You must have.
Few here, few for Ethiopian.
Okay,
No,
so
we have.
yeah.
In Khaitan, IPC, there is.
So then what you want to do is once a week, you know, because again, there are two things. Once a week, you bring them down to sit with these people who can work with them because they will know the best avenues to reach them, right? And on your side, what you can do is, you know, be supportive, show, you know, kindness in terms of how you deal with them, you know, so they, at least from your character and you and the family, how the kids deal with them, everybody, you know, then they get the best impression of Islam because you will be the practical aspect. You know, the Daiya in IPC, whatever, is going to give them the theory of Islam. But in the end, they're going to be watching you to see what really is Islam.
Can we go with the second question?
Okay, maybe give another brother a chance to come back.
Yeah. Sheikh, about the Shia. About the Shia. Now, if any Muslim ask about the Shia, what's the difference between the Sunnah and the Shia?
Simple way to do it for the new Muslim is to let them know first and foremost that the Shia are just a very small group. So they don't think of the Shia the way that Christians think of Protestants and Catholics. You know? Because when a Christian thinks of Protestants and Catholics, you know, you're talking about 50%. So which one's right? It's a huge divide, big numbers. Okay? Shia are only 10 to 15%. So they're like nothing. In the whole Ummah. Yeah, the whole Ummah. And Iran, Iraq, you know.
Kuwait, forces Kuwait. Nothing.
You
200
know,
million.
nothing.
Maximum 200 million.
You know, out of 1.5 billion, what's that?
But the propaganda is big.
Yeah, they're very vociferous. They're out there and here. The West likes to use them, etc. In reality, they're only 15%. So that's what you want to stress in their eyes. They're only a small group. And every religion, every system will have breakaways. People who want to break away, they don't want to do what everybody else is doing. Okay, so you let them know. And they know that. They experience it in their own systems they have. Even amongst the Catholics, you have breakaways. Amongst the Protestants, you also have breakaways. So that they understand. Then, to just give them in terms of, from an Aqidah perspective, what's the difference? Because you don't want to just leave it like that. Because if they hear the story from the Shia, you know, it's about Ali.
Yeah.
Right? It's a whole other story. So, to deal with this point, you explain to them that the main point at which they deviated, the main point of deviation, is the issue of praying to others as intermediaries between themselves and God. This is the main point. I mean, there are a number of other issues, but this is the main point of deviation, that they will pray to the imams as intermediaries between themselves and God. And so we say they are like the Catholics to the Protestants. The Catholics have all their saints who they pray to for different occasions, different needs, etc. Similarly, whereas the Protestants say, out with the saints. We only pray to Jesus, who we believe is God. So So in a sense, it's not a clear comparison in the sense that we are now like the Protestants, because Protestants still have the problem of Jesus, who they pray to. But that problem is conceptual, because they believe that Jesus is God. The Catholics don't believe that the saints are gods. Right? No, they're not gods. They're just saints.
Yes.
People who have, Mother Teresa, she's done these good things. People were healed miraculously who pray to her. These type of things. Okay, she's a saint, so we can pray to her. Right? So similarly, the Shia, they have these imams, they call the 12 imams, who they pray to, believing that they can answer their prayers for them, etc. So mainstream Islam teaches that you only pray to God alone. And that's why you came to us. That's why you became Muslim. Because you understood you should not be praying to Jesus, who was a man. Right? So now what the Shia are doing, they are praying to other men. Not just one, but 12. So this is a simple, without going into all the details of, the Khalifa and who was supposed to be, and, this.
Yeah, as this new Muslim, is it suitable for him to know him? What's the big sins like adultery, like drinking wine, like bank benefits? Is it big sins? Is it suitable for him to know?
Yeah, in the again in the first day, we said there are certain points that they should be aware of, should be told. We don't tell them, okay, you have to now get rid of your girlfriend.
One time,
let me finish. You don't tell him he has to get rid of his girlfriend. But in Islam, it is prohibited to have sexual relations outside of marriage. It's considered a sin. You should know this. It's prohibited for you to drink alcohol. You should know this. So the basic muharramat, right, forbidden things, prohibited things, you tell them at that point. Some things you may not want to go into in greater detail. A woman, she's married to a man, she accepts Islam, she has 5 kids, been married to him for 20 years. Now for you to tell her, listen, your marriage is just indefinite. There's no point to try to tell her. If she, somehow she's got this idea and she's quite strong, and some women will say, come in, and they'll tell their husband, okay, listen, we got to become a Muslim, we can't have relations anymore, and if we don't do so, khalas, it's over. But there are few. The majority, they still love their husbands, they don't want to break their family up. Islam is going to break up my family? I don't think I'm ready for that one. So it's better for her to accept Islam in that relationship, right, than to not accept Islam. It's better. So we take what is better here. And when her iman has reached a certain level, we can see she's confident, we explain to her, this is the situation. But again, even when we explain to her, we're not saying that if you do not give up your husband, you are no longer a Muslim. We don't want to ever tell her that, because that's not true. That's not true. Right? But, we introduce it to her, and then what she can handle, it's after that, she has to deal with her emotions, family, and all the consequences. It's a huge thing. And this is where the family thing becomes more and more critical. Because if she feels there is this huge safety net out there, that if she lets go of this man, she's not going to be in free fall, right? What do I do now? How do I look after myself and my children? I haven't gone out and worked, I've been looking after the kids all my life. Now I have to go out and look after them. It's huge, huge. So where we have established that system, that family system that is out there, she feels she has entered into a family, Muslims will be concerned about her, they will be ready to help her, so and so, then she can make those kind of decisions.
So can you say at the beginning what do we say to her? We say keep your husband and keep your family.
No, we don't necessarily go to the other. We just don't get into that topic.
Yeah.
If she starts to ask,
Okay.
And this is again too, among the first things that you have to be careful of is not to allow everybody and anybody to try to tell her what Islam is. You know, because you'll have some sister who come to her, okay sister, did you get that divorced? You know, you're divorced. What? So you have to keep the other people off because everybody wants to share Islam with her. She just came into Islam, so you need to know this and you should be doing this. And then again, it can become very, you know, it's like harassment. The woman starts to feel she doesn't even feel comfortable coming amongst the women anymore, you know, because she hasn't completely taken on Islamic dress. She's still in a, you know, they say she's a work in progress, you know. But people feel like, no, you became Muslim, 100% Muslim today is what we need, you know. It's not like that. So this is where first stage is we have to protect her from other Muslims. Not just from the non-Muslims, but from other Muslims. You know? And we tell her too, okay, you have to explain, or him, to explain that yes, you know, people will come and want to help and so on and so, but listen, you know, there are people of knowledge and you want to learn things, you know, correctly, right? There are different opinions, different cultures, different things out there, so you might hear this different, don't worry about it, just whatever issues you have, bring it back to us, we will help you.
And if she asks, what shall I do now with my husband? What shall I do now?
Somebody has already told her. We say, listen, you focus on learning your Islam right now, right? You focus on building your faith, your understanding, your practice of Islam, and when you feel yourself ready to deal with this, then, you know, if you can make that choice, that is what Islam says. But if you can't, still it is better for you to continue as a Muslim rather than not, simply because, you know, you're married to a non-Muslim.
Inshallah, we're going to take two questions. So inshallah, Sheikh had to go some other way. So two questions, one brother and then you, inshallah.
Sheikh, we have Muslim brothers who smoke cigarettes. We have a place called Duwaniya where we gather. We gather together, like each day, every day that we have a place to gather. We call it Duwaniya in each house, yeah. So there are some Duwaniyas where people smoke cigarettes. And me, when I go there, once they smoke, I feel uncomfortable. Shall I go or shall I stay with them?
No, as long as you're able to give advice, then you continue to go. When you're not able to give advice, they don't want to hear what you have to say.
No, they do.
Then you're just there for the sake of, you know, these are my friends, so I'm with my friends. That's when you need to leave. Because you're no longer having any impact on them. In fact, you have to know that if you're not having impact on them, they're having impact on you. So, you know, you might think, no, they can't affect me. But yes, they will. You know, it's subliminal, it's under the surface, it's not open, but eventually you're sitting around al-munkarat. You know, you get used to things. You know, it's like some of the brothers who, you know, practicing brothers from over here, they go over to Canada, to the US, you know, and you know, they walk around with the brothers doing dawah, and, you know, they come back, you know, the brothers are, you know, how can you do this, brother? Look at these people, they're half naked, and how can you know? The brother said, well, what do you mean half naked? Look at them. You know, but you have now, because we've lived over there for so long, this doesn't even faze us. You're numb to it. This is just a norm. But for somebody, you know, who has never experienced that type of thing, then, and that's what it really is. As they see it, is how it really is. But because you've lived around munkarat, you've been around corruption, then corruption is lowered in your eyes. You don't see it as it really is. You get used to it. You become numbed. That's what we say. You become numb to it. Like you've taken, you know, Novocaine that the dentist puts in your gums so you don't feel. That's what has happened to you.
I started conversing with a guy today, actually. He was telling me he's a U.S. soldier from the 4th Gulf War. He's been apparently messed up since then. He sleeps maybe an hour a night, wakes up in sweats, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder. He had a situation where some people fired on him, and he returned fire and killed them in a car. And he goes and he checks the car, and it's a bunch of kids, 12, 13 years old, you know, just like his children's age. And so he's been messed up ever since this. He was telling me about how, you know, the nightmares that he has every night, the tremors, the sweats. He wakes up after an hour or two, and you know, I asked him if he'd spoke to anybody about Islam, did he know anything about these people, and he really hadn't, but he was interested, and my suggestion at that point, because he had to go, was simply play the Quran. I said, you know, I'm not asking you to be a Muslim, just try playing the Quran and see if that helps you. And he wants, you know, he was very excited. He said he'd only been up or slept for an hour, and he had to try and get some more sleep because, you know, it was morning here, but it was middle of the night there. And he wants to talk with me tonight on Skype or in the morning at some point. What kind of advice would you have for me to approach him with the next time that we communicate?
Well, if you've told him to play the Quran, then that's the point that you go from. You know, have you played the Quran? Did you listen to it? Did you find it? You know, if he says, I found it very soothing and so on. So, I mean, I know people who accepted Islam just because, you know, one brother, as he said, you know, he went into the store, he heard this thing, and he was hanging out with some of his friends in Chicago, and you know, they were playing this thing in the car, and you know, he said, I like that music. It's really nice. You know? And so from that, you know, he came into Islam. You know, just touched him. You know, so you don't know. Since you've put that out there, then go from there. You know, see what the impact is. I encourage him to read the Quranic text. Then, you know, perhaps the verses, at least the translation, might touch him. Then, I mean, I would say that you need to get a clear concept of God established with him. You know, what does he believe in? Because ultimately, that's question number one.
His dad's a preacher. He's a Christian, but I mean, he does believe that there's only one God. Now, we didn't get into the whole, is he a Trinitarian or Unitarian?
This is
or
what you need to get into, you know, well, who is God? Did God become a man? Because if he said, I believe in one God, but that one God is Jesus, then he doesn't know who God is. So we need to help him to find who is God, have a clear concept of that, and then build from there. So,
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Bilal Phillips, Dr. Abu Amina. Alhamdulillah, he gave us such a beautiful advices and valuable advices points that inshallah we're going to get benefit. Alhamdulillah, he's in the field of da'wah since mashallah more than 30 years, 20 years, something like that, when I was involved at that time. So alhamdulillah, so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to success our Sheikh and to success inshallah his path, and to success also his academy that he's running, the Open University, Islamic Open University, and also there's a pamphlets inshallah we're gonna distribute if it's possible.
yeah, for those who are interested, you know, I'm leaving some brochures, and then you can make other copies and make it available. And even some of the courses, it's possible for you to run them by projecting them and having people sit and watch them, because some of them are suitable, like my course called The Foundations of Islamic Studies. This was specifically done for new Muslims. You know, I taught it in Ireland, you know, over 2 summers there. So it was designed to give them a gradual presentation of Islam. Most of it was taken from my Islamic Studies series. I don't know if you've seen Islamic Studies Book 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are actually for grades 7, 8, 9, and 10 of school, English medium school. I designed it for that and for new Muslims. So you might want to look at it as part of your options of material that you can give to the students in an organized fashion, because of course the language is quite simple and it's a lot of questions, and it's put into relevant context, the various basics of Islam.
Are they available online or some website?
Online, or from IIPH, International Islamic Publishing House in Riyadh. They are the main publishers. So the series is available.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. And we ask, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on a straight path about Allah and His Messenger. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us du'at until we meet Him, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair, Shaykh.